So welcome to the next section of this Excel 101 course. During this section, we're going to move away from creating structure within the document and adding content, and we're going to talk about formatting, making our document more presentable, adding colors, changing the font, adding borders, really just making it more presentable and ready for the prime time. So the first topic that I want to get into here deals with some font formatting. I want to change the size of my font, I want to change the color, I want to make it bold, I just want to make the fonts more presentable. Right now, we just got a bunch of black text out there on a white background. There's really not much to it. Let's spice things up. For example, A1, cell A1 here, monthly budget. It's our title. It should be big and bold and red. It should really stand out and draw the attention so that when somebody comes to my document, right away they can see that, oh hey, this is the monthly budget. It's a big old title there at the top of the worksheet. So let's take a look at some formatting options here dealing with the font. Now I do want to point out that if you've done formatting in any other Microsoft application like Word or PowerPoint or inside the body of an email, this is going to feel pretty similar with a couple of minor differences. Nothing big though. You should feel right at home. So my first step, as in any application, before you perform any formatting, you want to highlight the cell or cells that you want to format. So in this case, I'm going to format the title, monthly budget. I want to make it larger and bold. So I'm going to select cell A1, where I got monthly budget. Go to my Home tab. On the Home tab, I've got my font formatting commands right here. I've also got some alignment commands I can use as well. I'm going to stick with font for right now. So one, I'm going to change the font size. Maybe I'll go pretty big. I'll go like 28. That's a nice big title right there. And I want to make it bold. So I'll just hit the bold button. And I've made my font larger, made it bold. Now there's other things I could do up there as well, like maybe italicize it or underline it. I could change the font itself. Got all these different types of fonts to pick from. You don't want to get too wacky with it, make it not really readable. So do be careful of that. Sometimes keeping it simple is better. But either way, you've got a ton of options here to be able to format your content, all through the font options. Let's try a little more. I want to do something with my headers here. So in this case, I want to do the same thing for bills and my months and total and percent. I want to make them all bold. So in this case, I'm going to highlight all of my headers, just from A4 to F4. With all of them selected, I'll go back up to Home, back into my font section, and I'm going to make them bold. Now they stand out. I mean, even just that right there. One of the big things about formatting inside of an Excel document is to create separation in the content. In this case, I've just created separation between the headers and the actual records, the bills down below, just by making them bold. Something so simple has added so much more to this document, made it that much more accessible and presentable. So try it out. Just a couple little steps here. Format the title, change the font, change the size, make it bold, italicize it, whatever you want to do. Format your document, make it more presentable. But remember, don't go overboard on it. You put too much going on in there, it just becomes clutter, becomes noise, and it's hard to read. But try it out to your heart's content, whatever you like to do there. Now the formatting that we have so far dealing with the font is really only one aspect of formatting, and it's a pretty small one. We just made something bold and changed the font size. Now we've also got colors that we can throw into the mix as well. Not just for the font, but for the background as well. Take a look. I want the background of my bills, or excuse me, of my headers here, to be a different color. So my first step, remember this? You got to highlight the cell or cells that you want to format. So with all of those highlighted there, I'm going to go back to Home. Underneath my font section, I've got what looks like a little paint bucket. And if I give that a click, I got all these other colors that I can pick from to change the background of these cells. Now I like blue. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this kind of darker blue here. And I think that looks pretty good. Nice blue headers there. Now blue and black, it looks good, but maybe there's not enough contrast in there. So once again, I'll highlight those cells, A4 to F4. And I'm going to change the font color, just the capital A right there. I'm going to change it to white. Get some nice strong contrast in there. Blue background, white font. Looks pretty slick. So you can not only change the font, you can change the font color. You can also change the background of the cells themselves. And once again, it creates a lot of separation between the data. Maybe I want to do the same thing with my totals here. I'll grab my totals. Maybe I want to grab these totals as well. So I'm going to hold down my control key and also grab these. Your control key will allow you to select non-contiguous groups of cells. So once I've got that all highlighted, I'll go back up to my little paint bucket, and maybe I'm going to make this kind of a light gray. And once again, just even something small like that, I've created some separation in here. I'm going to do the same thing with my bills here. Let's make this even a lighter gray. Go really, really light. Yeah, let's go that one right there. I think that looks good. So once again, separation in there, making it a little more accessible, a little more readable, drawing the user's attention now. Now we're focused in on those amounts because they're so different than the rest of the data out there. So try this out. Add some color to your document. Change the font color, the little A button up above. Change the background of your cells. Highlight a group of cells, use the paint bucket. Add some life to this document and start to lead the users, draw their attention to specific areas, and create separation between the different sets of content. So I started talking about how through formatting, you can start to create separation in the different areas of content that you have in your Microsoft Excel worksheet. I added background colors to really create separation. Now I'm going to add to this idea of creating separation based on our content. For example, I've got some totals down below from cell A10 down to E10. Now I've changed the background color, and that really does help to add some separation between the totals and the raw records up above. But I like to even make that more apparent. I'm going to do this by adding a border. I'm going to add a border, just a single line at the top of that range of cells. Now I'm going to do it here. I'm also going to do it up above. I want to add a border between my bill headings and my actual bills down below. Once again, just creating a sense of separation between the two different sets of content. So, first step, I'm going to highlight my totals. You know what, actually, I'm going to highlight the gas record here. Let's get this. The reason why I'm doing that is I'm going to add a bottom border to this, which essentially is going to add a top border to the totals. So with my gas record selected, I'll go up to my Home tab. Inside the Font section, I've got my border command. I'm going to go into the little drop down arrow here. I got all these preset borders I can pick from. Bottom borders, top borders, left, right borders, and so on. I'm going to grab this thick bottom border. And now if I click away, I've got this nice horizontal line separating my totals from my records up above. And I'm going to do the same thing with my headings here. I'm going to grab all my headings. I'm going to go back to Home, back to Borders, and I'll add the bottom thick border again. And again, just this little bit, I think that right there, it really makes it pop, creating that separation. I got the headers up above, I got my records down below. Now, maybe I want to add a border right here, separating my column total from the left-hand side. Remember, you had all these different preset borders to pick from. Top, bottom, left, right, thick borders, double borders, and so on. So here, I'll go back to Borders, and I'm going to apply a left border. And again, I'll click away. Now I've got this nice vertical line separating that data. I'm going to put one here just for fun. We'll put a right border just to separate my bills from the dollar amounts. Let's put a right border right there. Click away. And once again, just really slight, just these couple of extra lines inside of here really make a difference. Really make the content start to separate, make it stand out, make it more accessible for our users. These default borders that you see over here, these kind of lighter gray borders, they don't print out. You can turn them on, you can actually get them to print, but they don't look very good. So by adding your own borders, you're not only making it more presentable on screen, but also when you go to print this. So once again, try this out. Really, we're starting to make this thing look pretty excellent. Add some borders in there to push it even further as far as your presentation is concerned. So way back in the earlier discussions, we were talking about different types of data that you can add to an Excel worksheet. You had text, you had numeric data, you had dates, you had functions and formulas. Now I want to revisit the idea of the numbers. We've got a bunch of numbers in here. These numbers represent one of a couple things. One, I've got a lot of dollar amounts in here, money that I'm spending on different bills for these different months. So those should be represented as currency values. They should have things like decimal places, thousandths, commas, the dollar symbol, or whatever mark we use for the country we live in. I want them to look like currency. Now, the other numbers that I have here are percentages. And right now I'm getting decimal percentages. I want to turn that into an actual percentage. So let's do a little bit of formatting on some of the numbers that we have inside of this worksheet. First, let's do the currency values. So my first step, I want to format two different groups of numbers. I want to format these right here. This is from cell B5 down to E10, and I just left clicked and dragged to grab those values. And I want to grab my min-max average values. So I'm going to hold down my control key, and I'll grab B12 down to E14. Remember, the control key allows you to grab non-contiguous groups of cells, cells that aren't touching one another. Now, with both of those groups of values selected, I now want to format them as currency values. So I'll go up to my Home tab. About halfway through, you got a section called Number. And we looked just really briefly at this number section earlier when we were talking about the dates. Well, here, I'm just going to flip on the currency style. Now, I want to point out that there are a few other currency styles here. I've got English United States, I've got English United Kingdom, and Euros, and Chinese Yen, and so on. I can get into more accounting styles or currency styles and pick from some other ones as well. For me, I'm going to grab English United States. And I've now applied a currency value or an accounting style to my numbers. Now remember, what does it mean when you get the pound symbols, the hashtags here? Remember that? We discussed that just really briefly earlier. Well, these are numbers, and it's just too narrow, so I'm going to expand the column width of that column, and there's my numbers. So now I'm going to click away just so we can see this. I've now got currency styles or accounting styles, decimal places, thousandths, commas, in my case, the dollar symbol there. Now this is great because it's more accessible. Users can look at this and right away they think, oh, dollar amounts. Great. But for me personally, this becomes a little too crowded for me. There's just too much going on. It looks just like a big rectangle. And not enough white space in there. So what I like to do is inside of something like this right here, I like to leave the first row and the last row as currency style. Decimal places, thousandths, comma, the mark, the dollar symbol. But everything in between, such as, what is this, B6 down to E9, I still want the decimal, I still want the thousandths, comma, but let's get rid of the dollar symbol. It's just too much going on in there. I want to open up some white space and try to make this more presentable, more readable. Think about this. You ever been laying in bed late at night and you're reading a book, reading along, you read a line, and then you read the same line again, and you read the same line again. Your eyes are getting tired, you're starting to blur lines together. There's just not enough white space to separate the lines, so you keep reading the same thing because your eyes are tired. Same idea here. I want to open up some white space. So I'm going to remove the dollar symbol. So with the B6 to E9 cell selected, I'll go back to Home, back to Number, and I'm going to turn on the comma style. I'll give that a click. This leaves the decimals, leaves the thousandths comma if necessary, but removes the dollar symbol. And for me, I just think it looks so much better, so much more presentable, easier to read. People are going to get the point. If the first line and the last line are currency styles, they're going to figure out that, hey, everything inside there is currency as well. And once again, for me, it just looks more presentable. But I'll leave that up to you. That's a choice that I make. Whether or not you run with that, that's up to you. I definitely think it looks much better, though. Now, this is formatting our numbers as currency. So try this out. Jump in, open up your monthly, quarterly report here, and drop in your currency styles. Get those decimal places, those thousandths, comma, and the appropriate currency style for yourself. So in the previous video, we were talking about formatting numeric values as currency. But I also talked about that, you know what, we have some percentages here. And when I did the raw calculation, I got a percentage, but it's a decimal percentage. And I want to turn this into an actual percent style. So I'm going to select my percentages. This is just the F column. It's F5 to F9. I've got them selected. And up in my Home tab, back underneath Number, right next door to the currency style that we just used, I've got my percent style. One button press. Boop, and I've got my percentages. Great. Now, I want to point out that there are some additional options that we can work with here when you convert to your percentage style. Now, some of these got rounded on me. Okay, let's undo that for a moment. I'm going to hit my undo button. And let's see, I got 70%, I got 2%, which is pretty close to 3. I got 6, I got 1, which is, actually I got, 17% inside of there. And I've got 3%. Let's see what happens when I convert this into percent style. All right, 73, that was like 2.9, right? I got 6, I got 17, I got 3. Now, some of these, again, did round on me. They rounded up. Well, if you want to get a more accurate percentage out of this, up inside the number styles, once again, I've got my increase and decrease decimal buttons. So I'm going to increase by 2 decimals. Click, click, 2 clicks, and I've now got a more accurate percentage based off of those decimal percentages that I started out with. So a couple simple changes. Format your percentages as percent style, it's just the percent symbol up here. And if needed or if wanted, you can increase or decrease your decimal places. So try this out. Open up your monthly budget, open up the exercise file, and try it out. So the next option that I want to take a look at here is going to help streamline your efforts as you format a document, especially really large documents. We're going to talk about the Format Painter. Now I want to point out that the Format Painter isn't exclusive to Excel. You'll find the same option inside of Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. So what we're about to discuss here is going to benefit you in those other 2 applications as well. So I hope you're ready for this. The idea of the Format Painter is like copy and paste, but for formatting only. Catch that? Copy and paste, but only for formatting. Take a look. So I've got these headers up here. They're big and bold, blue background, white text. I want to take those headers, the formatting of those headers, and I want to be able to apply them to my min, max, average, and count headers as well. Now I could do this. I could try to remember what did I do to this and then just go down and format these to match. Kind of guess. I made it this blue, they were white, they were bold. What size font was it? And I can try to make all of those formatting choices down here as well, do it manually. But that takes some time and I got to remember what I did. Rather than that, I'll just copy the formatting and paste it someplace else. Take a look. So I'm going to select one of my headers up here, like bills, cell A4. That's the example. That's where I want to copy the formatting from. So with that selected, I'll go to my Home tab. I'm going to go into the Clipboard section, and there's something that looks like a little paintbrush. This is the Format Painter. So I'll click on that, activate it. You can see I get the little marching ants like I would if I was copying, and my cursor's got a little paintbrush next to it now. Now I'm going to go click on Min. Click. And I've now copied the formatting from A4 down to A12. Very simple. This is highly effective, especially you got larger documents where you need to go through and format. Just copy the formatting from one location to a new location. Try it out. And again, this feature is not only Excel, but Word and PowerPoint as well. I really like it inside of Word. A really effective way to copy formatting all over the place. And this works across worksheets, across workbooks, not just one worksheet, but multiple. Again, try it out. Select bills, grab the Format Painter, and click someplace else. Copy and paste for formatting. So what do you think of the Format Painter? Pretty neat, right? If you haven't used that before, dive in there and take a look at it. Copy and paste the formatting. Now, the next operation that I want to perform here has a very similar concept. Think of formatting. When you format something, there's a number of options that you can perform. I could change the font, the color of the font, the background, add borders, the font size, the font itself, italicize it. A number of features that you can perform to make something more presentable. Now, let's say that you want to create consistency throughout your document in formatting. My headers, they should always be blue in background, white text, and bold, and have a border at the bottom. And I want to use that everywhere. Well, I could use the format painter or I can do it manually, but that's still a lot of work, especially for really large documents. And then what if you format a document, you make all your headers beautiful. They're big and bold and blue and white text and so on. And you think there's nothing wrong with this. You hand it out to your coworkers and they're just, this is great. But you know what? That blue, it just doesn't go with the rest of our documents. It's not our style. I want it to match the green that's in my logo. This should be green backgrounds, not blue. And you think, well, really? Now I got to go back through this document. I got to update everywhere that we have blue to make it green? What a task, right? Well, in steps, styles. Styles are saved formatting. Formatting that you create, you save off, and then you can reuse. Apply it anywhere you need within a worksheet or inside of any worksheet in the workbook. Create it once and just reuse it. Now on top of that, you can modify a style. You modify a style and this will update every cell that uses that style. Take a look. This is how you work with styles inside of Excel. And once again, much like the format painter, this isn't exclusive to Excel. I use styles inside Microsoft Word all the time. Super saver on time. And it also works with various features like table of contents inside of Word. So take a look. This is styles inside of Excel. So first, you know what? I'm going to create a style that'll change my headers. My headers are already formatted though. So to clear this up, okay, I'm going to go ahead and highlight my headers. And I'm going to clear the formatting. I'm going to get back to just square one once again, just black text. So on my Home tab, on the far right, I got my editing section, and there I got clear. I'm going to go to clear, and I'm going to clear the formats. This is a really effective, really quick way to just wipe the formatting out of whatever you have highlighted. Your coworker sends you some document, and it's like, oh my gosh, that document's just ugly. You can clear the formatting like that in one button press. Now that actually goofed up my dates. You see that there? Remember, dates are just numbers. So I'm going to really quickly fix those. Now you might recall way back when we were talking about dates. I'm going to go up to number, change it from general. I'm going to go down to more number formats. And I'm going to do a custom format. And I'm going to find one of those date formats. Let's see, there it is, right there. And remember the little change that we made? I'm going to do 4 Ys rather than 2. And now I've got my date formatting back in there. All right, great. So now I've got some raw headers that are just black text. Now I'm going to format one of these, just one of them. In this case, I'm going to format cell A4 where I got bills. And I'm going to do whatever I like here. I'm going to make it bold. I'm going to change the background. Again, I like blue. Let's do the lighter blue. I'll do white text. I'm going to put a bottom border on it. There we go. And I think that looks good. And that's something that I want to be able to reuse on all my headers here. So once again, I could use the format painter. I could do it manually. But let's take a look at creating a style so that I can save that formatting and reuse it. So I'm going to go back and select cell A4. This is the cell that has the formatting that I want to convert into a style. So with that selected, I'll go to Home. Towards the far right, you got a section called Styles. And there you got cell styles. Now, in Microsoft Excel 2013 here, but this is true of earlier ones as well, you've got a number of different styles that Microsoft has given to you just out of the box. These are predefined formatting that you can use inside your document. But what I'd like to do here is create my own cell style. So I'm going to go to New Cell Style. This opens up my Style dialog box, and I'm going to give it a name. This is going to be my awesome header style. Super awesome. So I gave it a name, and that's all I'm going to do here. I'm going to hit OK, and I've now created a style that I can reuse. So I'm going to highlight all my headers from A4 down to F4. I'm going to go back up to cell style. Remember all those default ones? Up at the top, I've now got my awesome header style. So I'll select that, and I've now reformatted all my headers. Ooh, my dates got goofed up again. So I can go back in there and I can reformat those dates. Let's do that just quickly here. I'll grab those, hop back up. This will be more custom, and I'll go get my date format there. 4 Ys. Ding. Nice. So they're all consistent. And imagine, make this a much larger document. I've used this style all over the place. Blue background, white text, borders, bold, looking good. Now your coworkers come to you and say, hey, that's super slick. Document's looking great. But can you change that blue to green? Okay. Now rather than me manually going through and performing this task and updating it, all I need to do now is update the style. Take a look. Back to home. Back to cell styles. I found my awesome style. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to modify the style. Now inside the modify window, I'm going to go to format. This is going to open up my cell formatting window. And the only thing I'm going to change here is the fill. I want to change it from that blue color to some green, something that matches our logo. So let's grab this green right here. I'll hit OK. I'm going to hit OK again. And I've now updated my document. I have modified, updated the style, which in turn updated everywhere that style was used in my document. Very slick. Saved formatting, updatable formatting. You make one change, you've now updated everywhere you've used that style. Now, once again, this isn't exclusive to Excel. In fact, for me personally, I don't use them a lot inside of Excel, although they're a very neat feature. But Microsoft Word, I use them all the time in there. Think of a 40-page document that you got to go through and format. Somebody decides, you know what? I don't like that blue. Let's go green. You update the one style. You just updated all 40 pages within your document. Same idea here. Try it out. Build a style. Format something. Select it. Create a new style. Give it a name. Apply it to other cells. Update the style, and watch the magic happen. So this document has really come a long way since we started building it. It used to just be a blob of numbers out there, just black text floating inside this Excel worksheet. We've really started to spice it up with colors and borders and background colors, formatting this document. Now, I want to take this a step further. Our title, although it's a nice title, it's nice, big and bold there at the top of the screen, what I'd like to do now is take that title and center it along the top of my spreadsheet here. I want to put monthly budget right in the middle of the width of this spreadsheet. Now, how many columns do I have? A, B, C, D, E, F. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns there. So roughly right about here in between C and D is the middle of my spreadsheet. That's between two cells though. I can't put monthly budget where there's no cell. That's in the middle of two cells, right? I'd have to insert another one inside of there to be able to create that center spot. Now, to fix this, Microsoft Excel has got a feature called Merge and Center. The Merge and Center feature will take a group of cells, like A1 to F1, that 6 set of cells there. It'll merge them all into one cell and center the contents. One button press. Take a look. I'm going to highlight cells A1 to F1. 6 different cells, right? With that highlighted, I'll go to my Home tab. Underneath Alignment, I've got Merge and Center. I'll give that a click, one button press, and I've now taken those 6 individual cells, merged them together, created one big master cell out of those 6, and centered my title. Merge and Center. A very neat feature. Now, it's a clickable button, it's a toggle. If I click it again, it'll unmerge them, take me back to 6 individual cells. But I'm going to leave it as is, because now I'm going to go up and change the color. I'll make it blue. I'm going to change the font color. I'll give it a border at the bottom. And now I've got a nice title up there at the top of the screen. And you know what? I think I got too many rows here. I'm going to select row 3 and delete it. Control, minus. We'll get rid of that. I just think it looks better. Not as much white space up there at the top. But try this out. Merge and center. Grab a number of cells like A1 through F1, those 6 cells, go up to Home, Alignment, Merge and Center, takes them all into one cell, and centers your title. Much more presentable, much cleaner. Alright, like I said, this document is really coming together. Very presentable, very professional and clean looking. Now I'm going to give you a scenario here. This is probably something that you've done before in the past, or perhaps you watched somebody do this. Have you ever printed out a document, maybe something like this or a larger set of data, and you need to go through and find specific records? Maybe you grab one of those yellow highlighting pens and you go through and highlight specific rows that match specific data. Maybe you're looking at dates. Oh, this date is past due. I should highlight that one. Ooh, this value is above our budget. I should highlight that one. You ever done that before? It's a very manual process. You're printing it out. You're going through and highlighting stuff. And you yourself are going through the document, kind of eyeballing what you should be looking for. Well, inside of Microsoft Excel, we have a very similar feature built into the application where Excel, based on a condition, will format something for you. Here's the example. Let's say these percentages. I want to say if I spent more than 15% on any given item, it should turn red. Or how about my dollar amounts throughout the different months? If I spent more than $100 on any one item, then it should turn red. This is called conditional formatting. Based on a condition, such as if it's greater than 100 or greater than 10%, that's the condition, then we format it. We tell it what to do based on that condition. Take a look. I'm going to try it out with my dollar amounts here. So if any of my bills are more than $200, let's make them turn red. Now we can eyeball it and we can take a look and do that, but let's get Excel to do it for you. So first step, you got to highlight the cells that you want to conditionally format. In this case, I'm going to get B4 to D8. That's the group of cells that I want to search this condition, greater than $250, $200, whatever it was, make them turn red. So with that selected, I'll go to Home. I'm going to go over to Styles, same place we found cell styles earlier. And I'm going to go to Conditional Formatting. Now, you've got all sorts of options in here. I'm going to show you one of the more standard operations. I'm going to go to Highlight Cell Rules, and I'm going to use the greater than operator. Remember, if it's greater than X amount, that's the condition. So I'll say greater than. This opens up my condition window. And I'm going to say if it's greater than $200. Okay? And now it's picking a specific formatting. It's a light red fill with a dark red text, which is great. And I can already see it working in the background. If it's more than 200, it formats it. Let's try changing that. I'm going to say if it's greater than 300, then format it. So now you can see that this one and this one are no longer formatted. It's only matching the specific condition greater than this. Now, light red fill, dark red text, that's great. You do have some other default options in there, or you can customize it. You can do whatever you like, change it to any color you want, but I'll stick with the red. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and I've now conditionally formatted my document. If it's above the 250 or 300 or whatever the value was, it formats it. And it's dynamic. If something changes, let's say credit cards, I didn't spend 100, I spent $400 on credit cards that month. I'll hit my enter key. Updated. I didn't have to go through and reset any parameters, any conditions, any formatting. It already knows what to look for and what to do if that condition is met. Very neat features. Save you time, less manual, get Excel to do the work for you. Conditional formatting. So try this out. Grab your monthly budget, grab a group of cells, Home, conditional formatting, maybe do something greater than or less than. Play around with it. Get an idea of working with conditional formatting.